Hello and welcome back to the Letting Love Lead podcast. I'm your host, Jeff, and this is my lovely panel of facilitators, coaches, anyone who likes to make a positive impact with people around the world. They're all quite skilled, and you're going to love every single one of them. And what this podcast is dedicated to, it's called Letting Love Lead, and it's really to help you if you are on a facilitation or coaching journey where you want to help others, either because you're currently doing it, but you want to make more money, more of an impact, do it more often, or if you have aspirations, you want to draw that gift out of yourself. Maybe it's a big secret no one knows about you and you feel alone with it, but you know something is calling inside of you. This podcast would love to support you on your journey to going to that next level of your coaching, your facilitation, getting out there and reaching others. So, as I said, I'm Jeff. We're going to go around, meet everyone here, and then we'll dive into today's juicy topic. And first we have, I'm just going to go in the order I see in my screen. So welcome, Lionel, to today's call. How are you doing?
Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome us. And no, I'm glad to be here. So, yeah.
Cool. Did you have a good holiday? Or was it a mix? Was it bad?
Better than expected. Let's leave it at that. I survived, so that's good. But no, I had a good holiday. It was good to have some connection and to be with others, and because normally I'm on my own, so it's nice to have that experience over the Christmas holidays. So yeah.
Very cool. Nice to hear. And Birta, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Well, right now I'm feeling quite good. But I actually, to be honest, I have been puking for most of the holiday. So it has been a detox for sure. So now I'm ready for the new year. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here today.
Yay, cool. Nice to have you back. And hi, Marcy, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, yeah, I'm happy to be here with you. Didn't have the easiest start to the new year, just recovering a little bit from flu and crushing headache. I would like to go with your interpretation, Birta, that it's maybe purging. But anyway, so I'd like this call to be the official start of my new year. on a more positive note.
That's great. That feels good. And finally, Lara, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Except for I have to share this because it's something very Dutch I have experienced. It's just like on New Year's, I happened to be looking at my phone and I had the police behind me. They were honking at me and I was so startled. Yeah, well, I was so somehow I was in one of these bike lanes that was like the bike lane was shifted because there was a turning lane, and so it put me right in front of the cars. You don't find that very often, but so the vehicles were behind me. They honked at me, which caused me to then go through a red light.
Oh,
and then they honk at me again, and like because I have a phone in my, so I got. And then they're like, "Why'd you go through the red light?" I'm like, "I got so startled." Me. And so they let me pass.
Are you
on
a bike or in a car? I'm
on a bike.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm on a bike. And then, so yeah, you can. So then there were, they if you go through a red light, they'll give you €100 ticket. And they didn't give me €100 ticket for going through the red light. They gave me €100 ticket for having a phone in my hand.
Yeah.
That's a serious offense. So I had to share that because I don't know if you ever find anything like that in the US for being.
I wish we had that in Davis, California, with the 40,000 bikes and students who have no awareness of stop signs and phones. I wouldn't mind incorporating that.
Wow, Lara. Okay, so that's €100 that has to come your way to even out everything in this circle of life.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into our first topic, and I hope it's the topic just for the call in general. It's something, what and I haven't really prepared how I'm going to say this, so prepare for the adventure of me potentially talking too much. I talk to, as you know, or may not know if you're listening to this for the first time, coaches, facilitators, people who want to grow their business. But I specialize really in helping people make a specific kind of transition. So that's what I want to talk about today, is the topic that's really at the center of why I do what I do. And it often comes out when I'm talking to these people. And I had an interaction recently with a couple who want to also, they're thinking of what kind of live events they could do together, or maybe online. And they have some customers now, but the customers kind of buy this kind of thing, and they only pay that. And the pandemic's here, so they can't do live. So it gets really messy. And what do they really want out of this whole thing? And for me, I notice I often get stirred up the exact same way, and I'm finally finding some words to put into like today's call, for example, to talk about it. So I would say there's a conflict a lot of people find themselves in when it comes to, and probably a lot of us on this call find ourselves in over and over again when it comes to trying to, take a step, live our purpose, make a contribution, come up with your message, sell something, make an offer. And the conflict is like as if I have one foot in each world, and then when I try to take an action, it has this tug of war effect. I don't get very far. So I'll do my best to name the two sides. I haven't come up with some clever names for the two sides, but the easiest way I can describe it is, on one hand, I could say the priority would be, how do I safely, securely, dependably, easily make some money in the short term? So that's like one of the forces that'll pull in this conflict. It'll pull my attention, and when I'm focused on that, it's going to determine what I focus on. So if I have that in the background, unconsciously as my focus, and I want to move forward in my purpose, in something that feels good and satisfying to me, I'm going to start asking myself questions like, well, yeah, what do people around me seem to want? What do they value? How much do they value me? What do they currently pay me or not pay me? I can't charge that because they give me bad feedback last time I tried to, and no one bought that. And everything about the past becomes this thing that steers the ship of my future. And it's like really awful, because on the other hand, there's this other path of like work that's so rewarding and so energy generating for me or for you that if money was handled, you'd still want to do it. Like, it's not to make money. It's really just something you love to do. If you were to die and look back in your life and look at things you didn't do, you'd be like, shit, I never did that. If you didn't do it. Or if you did, you'd be like, thank God I at least did that. So it's work that's going to be more connected to your unique voice, your unique contribution, your unique message. You don't need a unique message if you're just trying to sell to people what they're already kind of looking to you for, how they already picture you, how they already value you or not. You can kind of just fit in with other people there and try to take your bit, maybe undercharge people so that your customers will keep buying from you. You don't have to be, your message is less important. But if you want to really grow into, wow, I get to charge what I want. I'm unique. There are unique people out there who might not be in my current audience. So it's risky. I don't know how to find them yet, maybe. I don't know if they'll buy. I don't have proof yet, but this is really what I want. I'm going to do it. There's a growing edge there. It takes time sometimes to learn. It takes time sometimes to find those people. It takes time sometimes to put your message into words, or to even find out what you want, because there's even trial and error and testing involved there. And so I noticed that all of this conversation tends to come up when I talk to people about their business. They kind of say, I would like to do something that's more satisfying because the current work I do now is draining. Oh, why don't you do this? Yeah, I don't know if my current people would buy that. So like, whoa, how quickly have you made up your mind? What do you want? And I'm not saying you can't make money doing this creative purpose or something that's unique to you, but it can't come first, or else it's going to clobber your desire over the head. You're going to be like, okay, I can't do that yet. I don't have permission from my audience yet. And who's your audience? Is it your ideal people? Is it people that give you energy? Is it people you really want to work with? Or is it just the people who've bought from you in the past? And again, like I said earlier, dictating where you're going to go in the future, which is a big old circle, which is what I was saying. If you got one foot in each world and you haven't made that choice, it's really tricky. Most people I talk to have a foot in each world. They haven't consciously said, you know what, right now isn't the period of my life to be daydreaming. I just need to focus on money and short-term wins with my current audience. Let's talk in the future. And they focus on that. They can do that guilt-free if they really want that. That's an empowered choice, believe it or not. And if you feel like, you know what, this money thing, I'm sick of being intimidated by scarcity. I'm sick of not believing in myself and my vision. I'll find a way to make some money, but really I got to feed, water this plant. I got to feed this garden of what is work that would be so rewarding that I would just wake up every day dying to do it and trusting that the right people exist out there who will buy that one day. And I can take my time, and trial and error is part of the process. I don't have to be overly focused on the results because it's not about the results. It's about me releasing and expressing who I am so the right people in the world get the benefit of that, those new people. Because when I'm over here focusing on money and not releasing that part of my personality, those people that would love to be served by you and who you are deep inside uniquely, they're not going to find you. You're over here doing the other thing. So I don't know if that was super clear, but I think it's clear enough to start this topic. Because I think describing these opposite forces, you could say, of like scarcity and trying to survive and trying to adapt yourself to make money that way, and that version of marketing or having a message or having a purpose easily gets mistaken for the other version as well. There's like confusion there, I notice. And how can that hold you back? And what is it you really want? So, all right, now that I've laid the landscape, let's start the conversation. What does it bring up in the people here on this call to even hear the two sides named, to say, well, there is a kind of like, where's my money coming from? I need to pay the bills. What do people tend to think of me currently? What do they tend to want? So the outer focus and the reacting focus versus the, what do I deeply want? If anything was possible, if I didn't have to consider what people have been telling me, if I was allowed to have a new audience or lose my old audience and whatever that fear that brings up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to start.
Yeah, I just feel that I get so inspired when you share what you're sharing, because this is so an important message to just remember. I've been a lot of times I've been in this other place where I'm like, oh, what do they want, and trying to make them happy and not asking myself, what do I want? And when I ask that, like, what do I really want? Then it's like I just feel this freedom, and to not when I let money decide where I'm going, my system it's just collapsing. It's like I don't get inspired. I'm just forcing. And I have been doing that for many, many years. And I have also experienced that it's not working. It's not working for me, because money is not something that can drive like, oh, when I do that, I get more money. It's like, well, whatever. But of course, we need money. So kind of to live my message, I have chosen to have also been working somewhere else and just have an income. And that is to support me living my message.
Yes.
And when I did that, it was like, okay, now I can just play. I can have fun. Because when you don't have a lot of money, it's not that fun. It's like, oh, I need to get inspired now. Yeah, no, it's really not working. So it feels like I'm supporting myself when I do that. Yeah.
I love that you bring that up. Yeah. I'll leave some space for other people to talk about it, but I love that you bring up this idea of support it, like the survival part. If you're in survival for real with money, the reality is it might be more, like you said, just hard to have fun, hard to be connected to what I want. hard to take that creative journey and more in survival.
Yeah.
I think, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lara. Yeah. Or, yeah. Whoever was speaking.
What makes me curious is around the meeting point of where I'm in my joy, sharing what I love to do, and it attracts the attention of others. So that it's not like two separate things, right? Like that, doing what I love to do, and then like, oh, and then I need to find a way how to like let people know that I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a time for me, especially you brought up about doing things live, where let's say, so when I was teaching embodiment work, when I was actually had a live audience.
Yes.
And people got to experience a class of mine, me teaching something. And then someone, there'd be that one person comes up to me and says like, how can I learn to do what you do? And that's when then it's like the information shows up. It's like, there it is. Mm-hmm. Right? There is nowhere else except for through me. So I'll just create it. Here it is. And that's the way it's happened for me in the past. And now, since we're in this like new time, this pandemic time of like needing to learn how to work more through this type of media, mm-hmm. I feel a little more awkward. Mm-hmm. It does feel more separate, as you're saying, Jeff. Like there's like two different and then even this question about like, what do they want? Mm-hmm. Like I don't even know what do people want. They mm-hmm. seem so far away. I'm not in the same room as them. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a piece I was going to add too. Is the word expectation is the key word for me today. But it's this piece of well, you could start with what you said, Lara. So what do they want? If your focus goes instantly when you connect to it, when you begin the path of connecting to who you are and what you want, the first question, if you've never really, or like me, you've not really done a lot of marketing and showing up and living out your gifts from that place, then the first question is what the people want. Because you go out with that question, right? And that's actually already the wrong question, because then you're not connected to what's here. But that's a process. What really came up when you shared this, Jeff, was it is a process, and I can feel it in the spaces we're talking about it. It's a process of unfolding. It's a process of being. It's a process of dropping in. It's a process of getting to know yourself. It's a process of opening up and daring to trust and to be open and to feel and let yourself be inspired. And all of those ingredients, like on the way, bring you closer to that. But it's it really is these it can be really hard. So, and that's my piece to share here.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree with you that it is a process, and that's where I'd say the one foot in each world was not to hold money opposite, but to like you've both been saying, like they feel opposite, is mm-hmm. like the process pays, and it might pay quick and it might pay eventually, and we don't know. Mm-hmm. But what feels more secure, and it's not even secure, you have no evidence that just because people bought from you yesterday, they're going to buy tomorrow. But it feels safer to be like, I know what people want from me. I know what they've tended to pay me. I'm just going to do that again. So then it feels like you're going, I could choose the safe money thing or the new, maybe no money thing. Because over here on the new side, it's a process. And it's a process that might confront a lot of our fears. And it's a process.
Right. And that's where the curiosity is like, there's like maybe a possible meeting place. Like, if I do something that makes me money, can I do something that makes me money that also has some like possibility for crossover or some overlap, or I don't know. Yeah.
And what kind of overlap do you mean? Because I'm still not quite getting it. Do you just mean I could do a new creative thing that would maybe pay the bills? Because that's okay.
Well, I don't know what Birte, I don't know what she does to make money that's separate from like her creativity. But I know for me, it's like where I can make money is I can go more into just more classical body work form, you know, like I can do massage therapy, or I can, you know, teach Pilates classes. And then it's there that then here and there I meet people who want something, they're like, they feel something different in my work. Yes. And then it becomes a curiosity. And that's what happened when I was teaching Pilates. Someone's like, how do I learn to do what you do? Because it's what I do, it's how I do it, how I teach Pilates, how I do body work is the thing that I'm offering, that I'm in my creative process around.
Yes, thank you. So let's add this to now the list of like solutions. So one part of the solution, one option is if in the analogy I was saying one foot is in each world and it's like a tug of war and I go in circles. What now Birta's mentioned and you mentioning Lara, I would just say is more on the solution side, because now I could say, well, the scarcity isn't pulling on my creative attention. I just dedicate a block of time to making some money so it's not as scarce. So I can in that case say, I'm going to go offer people the thing they're familiar with, the thing they want me for, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make sure I block off some time to do this creative stuff. So that's a really valid solution. It becomes conscious. And the example I was mentioning in the beginning is when people they have the conflict, like if I go to take a creative step, it's all one thing. They don't have them consciously separated yet or addressed yet. So this is a real solution. Absolutely.
What was coming up for me in the beginning, Jeff, when you introduced these like 1 foot into two different camps, you know, I guess for some people it might be that like, okay, the survival, like I have to make money versus this is my ideal. But I think the two camps could also be often, even if it's not a money issue, it's a little bit like the head heart, right? My head is saying, because I think that's the other camp too. It's like, even if it's not a, like, I need to make money thing, but so often the other camp is the shoulds, right?
Yes.
This is what I feel called, and this is how I want to move, but this is how it should be done.
Yes.
Right. And what was coming up for me was I think we so undervalue the ability to transmit our energy, and how much, like, I mean, you alluded to it a little bit, Lara, like they feel like you're maybe just teaching some Pilates, but they feel there's some other energy that you're transmitting that is part of your uniqueness, is part of your essence. And I've had such a visceral experience of that, because I do some, project work for a woman. And I'm also often like editing or looking at the emails she sends out. And I realize, like, my gut is such a barometer. Like when I read, I could tell such a difference. Like when she is sending an email that is really communicating from her core of, and where her real convictions are, I feel it when I read that email. It lands in me. Like I feel an excitement, and there's such a difference when I read the emails that are maybe in the camp of, oh, this is how I have to do it because there are certain constraints, because it's this is the branding, and I can't. So there's like this hesitancy on her part to put her voice in more because it's somebody else's branding, right? But I realize like it lands so differently, right? So I think just what came up too about this is the solution. Is really paying attention though, like even when you read emails, right, from other people or marketing, like there are times where you can feel the difference. So it's not even necessarily about doing more, working harder, but really just not allowing and trusting the expression, right?
Yes.
Just trusting, allowing that to come from you, really, from your core. But I know it's I think it comes through practice, and we have it, one day I feel very capable of doing that, and another day it's like, so I think it's just a constant practice. But it's a trust, really at the end of the day, it's that trusting that, yeah, actually if I feel inspired to communicate this, there's a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there must be an audience for it.
Yeah, it brings up the part, Marcy, where, what we bring through in whatever we do or however we show up may be something very different than what we think we're bringing across or transmitting to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also a part of that process, I guess, of getting to know ourselves. And like you said, trust, because we may think, well, what I'm going to be doing, or like Pilates or whatever, like it's just that. But for some people, that may be inspiring to get them to care for themselves in a completely different way. And they may start to buy food supplements or something. Like you don't know how it will impact people. So you have to trust that, like, and you brought it in a beautiful example of that woman you're working for, like when she comes from her core, you feel that coming across. And that's the piece that really probably like lights you up and gets you going and all the rest of it. And so that's the piece that when we show up, we also impact people with. And it's a good reminder, because that's easy to neglect or ignore or forget or not see, but that's such a core piece sometimes of our uniqueness that comes through. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that came up, though, Jeff, was the two camps, and I think especially it's present in my mind working with highly sensitive women and empaths, and I think the challenge is like, okay, the want. What do I want? That for this population is a challenge.
Correct.
Right? Because the antennas are so well worn to picking up on what everybody else wants and what everybody else out there expects. Yes. So I just bear that in mind. Like it's easy to say, just, get centered and figure out what you want, but it's just, it's not as easy as it sounds. Right.
Yeah. That makes me think of how, as you're talking about the challenge of feeling what I want around being sensitive, it takes a whole other something in me to believe in that.
Yes.
I think even Marcy, you were bringing up that challenge. I think it was in our check-in.
Just before the call. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this today, about my challenge, my capacity to hold the energy of what I want, right? Because it is intense, and the intensity is so challenging to hold because it is bigger than where I normally reside.
Mm-hmm.
And being, if I am that in tune with what else other, that sensitivity, it's challenging to stretch into that moreness.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's where, like I was saying, I get this, like, I then I'll even get a little bit of like, I'll forget who I am, because I'll get a little bit smaller and contracted, because that feels more familiar and easier to hold than the expansion of holding the belief of what's possible in my system. To hold that energy, it requires a openness, a trusting, a belief in myself, right? In belief in whatever it is that I'm.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like having endurance.
Yeah.
That is a good word. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad you say this, because I think for me, this is at the heart of what I sense with people is it sounds easy to say, and I didn't mean to make it sound easy, but if I'm describing two categories, it comes out easy. It's, do it. What do you really want? But that question is enormous, is difficult, it can be you can immediately get confronted with you're lost. You don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Or you want something, you try it, it doesn't give you what you want. Then now following what I want kind of sucks. Like there's so many ways you get disappointed, or it might be as simple as what you want brings up past memories of what didn't work out. And so you don't believe in it, like faith. And I remember, Marcy was mentioning that before the call, these ingredients of having a vision is simply having a picture of what you want. So if you lose touch with your want, it's hard to have a vision. If you get in touch with your want, the vision still might take years to come. And once you have a vision, who am I to do that? Can I believe in it? Will it work? And this is what I found in myself is there have been so many ways over the years that as I get in touch with something I want or a vision, a voice comes in very, I'd say, matter-of-factly and just says, well, here's why you can't do that. It doesn't even sound cruel. It's just like Marcy said, like, well, because you don't write emails like that. Yeah, no, because you don't, when people market themselves, they don't do that. Oh, no, you don't talk about yourself like that. Oh, no, you don't do that kind of a step. You have to do these things first.
It's like authoritative, right?
Yeah, but it also seems common sense. It's not as obviously a judgment. It just seems so common sense.
I have that one too. It's like it's very convincing because it feels very true, so you have to agree with it, kind of thing, right?
Yes. And it happens like a lightning bolt for me. So it's not, I have to go digging around almost to find out what how I convinced myself out of my vision, out of my. And I think all of that, it just makes it a little easier. And then you add in a bit of scarcity. Well, now it's a kind of no wonder that it's hey, I want to do this. I have something deeper inside me. I really want something bigger, contributing more. Yeah, but I don't have time for that mess, and it's not possible anyway. What do people want? That's easier.
Yeah.
I do see it that's hard. That's a challenge for people. It's been a challenge for me.
I just keep seeing the words buried treasure, like you were talking about last call, right? It's like that feeling underneath the disappointment is the buried treasure of the truth of the desire of the wanting of what's there. And on top of that, it's much easier to have these voices that tell us why it's easier not to be able to do those things or focus on something else or someone else, like in this case, like you're saying. And they are layers of, let's say, illusions that are on top of the truth of who we really are and what we want. But it can be very ingrained, conditioned. It can be very sneaky and subtle and manipulative, really. And it's pretty hard sometimes. I mean, for some of us, maybe not everyone, but at least for me, and I know for you, and for probably most of us in the group, and for those of you listening. But it can be really hard, and to break free from that, or to break through into, but not through push, but again, it's like that feeling of dropping in, but it also requires that like almost readiness, but even readiness is a difficult word because it can almost feel like, well, I'm not ready, but then, but it's just this combination of, for me at least, and when I help people, it's this combination of some readiness and some intent, but also the stillness and the spaciousness, but also the dropping in and the trust, the relaxation, the surrender, and then allowing that to open up to those deeper feelings of the truth of coming from who we really are to come forward and to present themselves, whatever those inklings are. And then for me, it really helps to do that together as well, because alone, it just isn't fully the way for me, but for some people that may be the way. But anyway, that's my piece that I wanted to add to this.
Thank you. And I want to also, because that on the back of that solution, there's also something you mentioned earlier, Lair, and I want to just mention it again, because it really works for me to make this tug of war easier on me is I just call it like getting around my kind of people. Like I just try to get around them. So like we were saying with the lockdown, if you can't do things with people in person and you love doing in-person events and then you feel that distance, that makes this tug of war infinitely harder because you're dealing with your mind and abstractions, and then there's all the room for the common sense to come in and, what do I want? I don't know. It's easier for me personally to know what I want if I'm confronted by it over and over again of the situation. So to speak more straightforward now, I try to get myself around coaches, people who have a mission, like the thing I want to work on. I just try to get myself around them more often, because then even if I'm not so sure of what I want and what my vision is, I keep feeling the something uncomfortable, and I keep feeling the way I naturally help without trying, and what makes me feel happy. And I think about them when I'm alone, and all of it is like I'm 10 times more creative and 10 times more natural than if I was at a distance, then asking myself, well, what do I really want when it comes to them? Or maybe what do they want? All that stuff, it's too heady. So for me, that's one of the things that really helps.
What did you mean, Jeff, when you said you get yourself around them? Like, I didn't understand what that meant.
So this, yeah, so what I have to say next is when Lara said, even if you do decide to just go with a comfortable path, or a path, that gets you around your people, that can be, Lara was saying in the example, if you go to teach she goes to teach a class, something that she is known for, people are paying for, and they ask her a question, it draws out her creativity. She goes, oh, actually, here's my next offering that is more unique or whatever, but it came through engagement. It didn't come from a distant putting off this thing that she's good at and going, I wonder what it is, and never having the answer to this super mystical, abstract question. It's like, instead of solving riddles of the universe, it's just kind of like getting involved with people in whatever way you can, for money, for free, peers, professional, like whatever way you need to do it. Start immersing yourself, get yourself closer to the kind of people you want to help, and find out what it stirs up in you. And that helps me a lot, because then I get more clear about what I want, because I'm in the field of interaction. In a way, this podcast is exactly that. By being more engaged with you here on the screen and the people listening, I'm going to keep getting feedback about what I want in a way I wouldn't have it if I was like in some cave meditating and just waiting for answers. It just wouldn't happen.
That is exactly what I meant when I said that I find it hard to do it alone as well. But when in the interactions, I get inspiration and feedback and reflections and mirrors and all the rest of it. And that helps me a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. It's like when you say it's like, oh yeah, of course. That's also why I'm at the moment not that inspired, because I haven't been around my people. Yeah. So that's really, that's.
But I just want to add that it isn't always by inspiration, right? Like I get a lot of clarity by finding myself in situations that I don't want, right? Yeah. There's nothing like that to make me way more clear about, definitely not this, right? Yeah. Like
that's true.
Just being confronted with like, okay, no. That's not it. So it isn't always about being driven by inspiration and,
No, absolutely. I had an experience around that just a couple of days ago, and I was kind of, I was sending out something and I got something back. I was asking, I don't want to go in detail, but I got this reply from a woman and I felt like, oh no, I'm not working with her. I just felt it instantly. And then I decided, so I know what kind of energy is, this was a cooperation. So it was not like a client or something. And I felt like, in my body, that's, and I'm like, okay, so not her. And what does, she represent that? Okay. So that's not for me, So what do I want? And it was so much easier to actually name what kind of energy do I really want to cooperate with, and it was like actually a name was like, I want to work with her, and I just like send it out in the universe, like her or something else or anything better than her.
Yes.
And just a week later, she was sending me an email and like, well, I was thinking, and this was I was wondering, so I am having a meeting with her tomorrow.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Wow. So I do that a lot. I know that I can't do this for myself. So I'm like, but as you said, Marcy, to just know what you don't want and then find out what do I want compared to that, and just ask for it and let it go. And that's a huge part as well, to just let it go and be open and curious. And and in this case, it just ended up like, wow, this is a miracle.
Yeah. I just have to, I'm giggling internally a little bit because just last week I was writing a blog about basically why you can't follow your bliss. So it was kind of a little bit of a rant about how much I hate the saying follow your bliss. Like I probably liked it 30 years ago when it hit the scene, but right. But I think it's just because there's so much that it sounds so freaking easy. Follow your bliss, right? Without all what really goes into it, which is like, it isn't a nice, as I said, a sprint or 100-yard dash, right? It's a freaking marathon, and a lot of times in the mud, right? Like really trying to find the clarity, right? And like I said, especially because I keep in mind, like people like you, sensitives, but and women in. Just that, because there's so many cultural overlays and so many unconscious mandates about how you're supposed to show up, what's permitted about how you show up. And, I mean, some women, like they reach midlife and realize that they don't even feel entitled to have a want or a need, right? So this whole idea of just follow your bliss, right? There's just a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
And I love what you were saying, both of you, about, I've turned it into my words, it's important to make a choice, because the best case scenario is, oh, look, it was the choice that made me happy. And the worst case scenario is, that choice sucked so hard, I never want that again, which makes the choice for you about what to do next. Yeah. So it's always better than having a foot in each world. Like I said, it'd be better if you said, you know what, I am going to just focus on short-term wins with stuff that doesn't make me as happy because I need the money. And you do that, and if it's worth it, you'll keep doing it. It's actually not a problem. It's a problem when you say, not anymore. I can't prostitute myself if that's what it feels like, or if these people are draining the shit out of me. It doesn't even make me happy. How is it I'm making some money and I feel like it's all not worth it? Then you're at least closer to the decision to try something else. But the no man's land is when you kind of not choosing either and drawn to thinking a lot about both.
Yeah, but I have to just to
recognize that the no man's land.
But just to be real here, there's also, you can say, a little bit of an objection with that part where it goes, well, if you didn't like it and it sucked, that you then say, well, I'm closer to what I do want. I don't always like people saying that, because it's like it can add to a list of deep disappointments that just makes it harder to even take a next step. So that's the realistic part of that too. So, and that's also
what would prevent someone from wanting it. And I've seen that in myself is, if I do this, there was a while I was trying on coaching and astrology and videos. And after most of these things, I'd have a bad taste in my mouth. And then I was kind of scared to try again, because I thought, the pain of, this wasn't it, is so hard to bear that I'd rather just not act.
Exactly. And that's the piece I've really experienced a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then then again, I would say me being around people that were, it started, it pulls it out of me in a way that does make me more clear. So all the ingredients we're talking about are important, but the disappointment's a good thing to name because it's real.
Yeah.
And Lara, you looked like you might say something earlier. Is it still on the tip of your tongue?
Well, so what I get curious about, because there's a way in which like we talk about getting connected to, the core of who we are. Like, where does this wantingness, the us that wants things, where does that live in us? Like literally, right? We can take us. I can move myself to the left. I can move myself to the right. There's something that's moving to the left and the right that lives inside this body that has a wanting. Mm-hmm. And what I've been finding through some somatic practices is that it has an existence. It exists in parts of me that can be literally, there can be all this kind of tension and around, like literally there's like stuff around the part of me that wants things that is like, we could say it's like guards that are going, we're protecting this wanting for whatever reason, because it was dangerous to want, or because someone made it wrong, or it's something to be ashamed of, right? You shouldn't want that. There's and literally it all gets registered in the body. Mm-hmm. And so I was just even thinking, like, as I'm sitting here, it's like, do all of you, like, can you feel that? Can you find it in a moment, like where that location of wanting, that part that wants something that I can take with me, into this.
Yeah, for me,
it's much easier to find where the disappointment resides in the body than the wanting.
Yeah,
but that's the same location.
That's the key.
That's
exactly.
what she just said. Yeah. For me, like this piece really brings up what I forgot already, but this morning somebody reminded me that showing up with what I really have to offer for me is an extremely vulnerable process. So then that's the piece that you're referring to for me, Lara, is that I can feel it in my heart space. It's almost like it's so guarded and protected because it almost feels like it's so pure and delicate and refined and an intimate part of me that it then becomes, like you said, those guards and stuff to make sure that it doesn't get abused or misused, or that I show up and I get disappointed or I get hurt in that place, or it's going to be repeat disappointment, like all the stuff that then is, so it's hard to bridge that place within with the steps to take in the outer way without and that's probably where the focus on people comes from. Like, what do people want so that I don't get this place hurt? But then that's not the right question. So it's good to talk about this, but that's what it is, right? So you describe it, and it's alive. It lives in you. Like it's all these parts are alive. They're really there. So. Yeah.
And I think that's why I brought this topic up as the other two columns, is because I could have the same process of where do my wants live in my body? Are they being protected? How much time to give myself to feel it and understand the disappointments and what I really want and follow. But if I haven't made a choice to say that journey is so important, the journey of my wants, the journey of that creativity, that journey of healing, and if I haven't consciously said, I want that to lead, then my nervous system, like you said, Lionel, it's going to have many outs. One of them is going to be, what are the right answers? What do people want? Or it might even be, people don't pay for that. Just totally reasonable things that you have evidence for. And it's just going to veer that way because it's easier feeling.
And more logical.
Easier, it's harder because you keep the energy drain that is my wants, have a force field protecting me from knowing about them. That shit takes energy.
Yeah.
But the groove, the current neurological net is kind of geared to going, anyway, what do people want? Anyway, what about what would work?
Then it becomes hard work, but that's the path then. But that, like you described it, that's usually the most difficult case, that we get into those grooves that are so reinforced, that have so many outs away from the inner, to that core of like the theme of the call, basically, that we keep coming back to, that you're describing, Lara. So so beautifully.
And I do think that making a decision has power.
Yeah.
If you make a decision and say, oh yeah, that's right, I'm catching my nervous system doing this, but I made a decision to focus here, that's easier. But if you haven't made the decision, it's just kind of like you're being tortured by the two directions.
Yeah, and even if you don't know, that doesn't matter either. I just wanted to add to that, like making the decision kind of means, well, I don't know, but I'd like to live out the truth of the vulnerable realness of who I really am, and discover that and stand for that truth and take small steps in that direction or whatever.
I love that you brought that in. Yeah, because it doesn't have to mean you're some super force on stage going, I've decided. No, it could be like the weakest, like meekest, like, I hope this is even possible, as I could live this. That could even be your decision. That's allowed.
Yeah.
I feel relief when you say that it doesn't have to be this full force Tony Robbins conviction.
That's who I just didn't say it.
For you, it does, Marcy. For you, it does have to be that.
I feel relief when I hear that okay, yes. I can even, it can even be meek and it's still valid.
Yes, totally. Because that's like a seed that you plant and that can grow at its own pace and not the pushy pace.
Yes.
But I feel a little bit unfinished I felt like you got cut off a little bit, Lara, when because I think I made a comment about, you had said where the wants live, and I said I could feel where the disappointment lives, and I felt like you said it's the same thing. Is that what you were saying?
It's not so much as the same thing. That so if we know that the tension, the stuff that we don't want, right, in our bodies, the tension and the ickiness or whatever, the guards, we can feel that very clear. Mm-hmm. If we know that the guards are guarding something valuable, then the thing is really close. We're getting close to the thing. Mm-hmm. It's like the guards are clues to where the actual source is. Mm-hmm. And so I know what I've found, because my body has always had tension in it. Like I come from tension, like my body, it's like it thrives on tension. What I found is like to be able to know how to relax is actually to feel what's on the inside of the tension. Mm-hmm. Like be curious about like, wait, the tension's holding on to something. And get curious about like, what is it holding on to? And sometimes I actually have to go, well, let me grab it a little bit more. And then let it go. And then feel like what's inside the holding. And what's inside the holding becomes the fuel, the source of what the wanting. Right? Literally it's essence that's like, it wants to become something. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It has some flavors of it. But in the body, does that make sense, Marcy?
Totally. Yeah. Sign me up for your next workshop.
Yeah. Any last words before we move into closing for the call? Any last words on this topic? So we've there's these two sides, and we want to help people out of the kind of a negative cycle, being tortured by the sides, and just help us and everyone into just living more in line with our desire, our potential, our want, our vision, in a generous way with ourselves, not a pushy way with ourselves. So any last words or thoughts?
Well, what comes to mind is that I'm so happy that you are doing this podcast and creating this, and I just feel that this can really help a lot of people like us and other coaches, and it's like this is so needed. So thank you for creating this.
Thank you, Beate.
I just want to echo that, Jeff. I feel so much gratitude, and I think I'll speak for myself, but probably speak for everyone here, that you've been under your guidance these last couple of years working with you. It's just been amazing. It's been it's just been such an enriching experience, and it's been such a part of maybe to use Lara's process, like just beginning to feel what's underneath the guards. So I'm really grateful, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I think for me, it's like, wow. It's like to give myself faith in something, and then it makes me become curious about like, oh, there's so much out there. All of you, those who are listening to this, you all have some unique spark, something that's so needed.
Yes.
I mean, even in this conversation, we each have brought such unique things that have made this yummy soup. And Yeah, I love stews. I really love them, with all the flavors. And I'm curious what other people have to bring.
Yeah. And please, you can let us know in the comments below what it is you have to bring if you're watching this on YouTube. That would be lovely for us to see.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, share, Lionel, before we go? Before we let people know how to get in touch with us individually?
Yeah, no, I'm just feeling the gratitude and appreciation for this podcast and what you started, Jeff, and also for us doing it together, because also in these times, I think it's important to have connection and to be able to share and really go into these topics like you were saying, Lara, like with the uniqueness of our own perspectives, and to have that be a representation for those of you watching,
yes, of
your own uniqueness being needed in the world as well, and into these discussions, into these perspectives, into what you bring out. So I see it coming full circle, and just appreciating that. So.
And just to use your analogy, your metaphor, Lara, it's nice not to have to stew alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing if there's anything I want to add, or if you've said it all for me, because it's all brilliant. Well, there's something about the fact that we're doing this, and that's another ingredient I learned from Christian Pankhurst. He said it multiple times, and it's really a truth that I feel is so self-evident. After I heard it, I thought that's true, and then it's more and more and more true, and that's just, we teach what we need to learn the most.
Yeah.
And this idea of we teach what we need to learn the most has multiple meanings, but one of the meanings I like to do is kind of, if I'm teaching something, I'm going to learn it even more now. That's one angle you can come at that statement from. And that's one of the reasons for doing this and talking about this is, if we're all talking about this, I love the beauty of it. Where everyone's expressing how, wow, we're in a field of desire, not what do other people want from us, not in scarcity. This is a place for us to show up and feel our desire, feel what's wanted, be natural, be ourselves, and trust that that's a gift that connects with others. And so that's another important ingredient for anyone who's listening who might not have heard that before or needed the reminder, is you have full permission to take what it is you're working with or need for your next step in the journey. If you're passionate about it, feels like something you do want to help others with or inspire others with, then you can kind of show that or lead with that or have that be part of what you share. And that will help you on your next step too. And I just felt like mentioning it because it's really something I believe in, is this showing up with your current process in a way that can also help others along theirs, helps you with yours. So let's hear where we can find people if they want to be found. As I say every week, that'll get old at some point and I'll stop saying it. Lionel, where can people find you?
You can find me for one-on-one sessions on my website, www.lionelfrancis.com with CIS at the end there, which we'll post below, I guess, in the comment section as well. And I can help you with finding exactly this topic, actually, finding a deeper connection to who you really are, and using the space intelligently to take you to that deeper place. So if that resonates for you, you can find me there.
Great. Thank you, Lionel. And you, Berta, where can people find you if they want to know more?
I will leave my email here in the
description.
The link. Yes. And what I'm working with, and has been my process also, is to create an unshakable bond with yourself. Because what I have discovered is that when I try to when I've tried to skip that part and just focus on doing some of the business or whatever, it just hasn't worked because the foundation hasn't been in place.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been working on with myself for a couple of, I think 3 years now. And so now I feel like, my foundation is getting quite a lot of much better, but and I really would like to help you with that, because that is, for me at least, that's the most important thing to create anything, actually. That's from my experience. Yeah.
That sounds great. Great. Yeah. Okay. And how about you, Marcy?
I've put the link down below, and it's, I work with highly sensitive women, empaths, creatives. And the link below is, I'm offering a free PDF guide on the hidden gifts of sensitivity. So you can feel free to download that, but also contact me by email. I do one-on-one coaching and also work in small groups. So.
Great. Thanks, Marcy. And you, Lionel? Sorry, Lara. I've had the L right.
That's right.
The rest is all the same. Yeah, no, Lara. How can people find you?
Well, they can find me at, it's funny, I'm going to give my original website name that I stopped using, but I'm coming back to, bodyasmuse.com. It could be bodyasmuse.com or laracolasar.com. And so they'll be down in the comments as well. And you could work with me in multiple ways, one-on-one. As well as there's an events page. And so I'm doing online events. I'm about to offer some weekly, I feel like I want to create almost like a weekly class / practice ground to come to that place that I was speaking to, like how to unwind, how to navigate the guardians of our source in our bodies.
Wow.
And create kind of a playground to go there and through somatic practices.
So we can keep our eyes peeled for that. That might be coming. Great.
Yes.
Cool. Such lovely things everyone's offering. And for me, I put my link in the description below for my member vault site. The thing I recommend you do there is register for the newsletter if you haven't already, because that's where you can get free, about once a week, inspiration from me, from whatever comes through for that I want to share on this topic, as well as I do lives. I'll be doing lives every week with me individually on YouTube Live. So you get notifications for that. You'll get these podcast notifications as well. And you find out how to work with me on that page as well, with your business and your message especially. So that draws us to an end for this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We really wish you the best between now and next time. And I just really hope you find that next courageous step in following your heart. And look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.